another subset of the tourism industry is film tourism. Now, this is a type of tourism that involves the visit of destinations that are seen in movies and television shows, and to a great extent, those who are into the film industry, cinematographers, have a great role to play, because there are some scenes that you see, oh, you just love the location, you love the site, you love the story that was associated with it, and some fans want to actually connect with them physically. It becomes the next place to visit, and so they go just to have that connection, that touch with it. There are also some places that are associated, very popular with maybe movie production, for instance, Hollywood. Some persons want to visit Hollywood to see how it is and just connect with some of those things. This is what we're looking at, and we have a screenwriter, broadcast producer, the person of Effiong Akpan with us, and he will be joining us via Zoom shortly. But before that, let me ask Ayer, I know that you like watching movies. Are there particular places, particular scenes you've seen, particular locations, and you've thought to yourself, I would like to visit this place. I'd like to see what it looks like physically. And maybe there was one character or a movie that actually makes you want to connect with that?
Well, essentially, my response will be localized to my personal experience, because I wouldn't talk about Hollywood yet. Let's talk about our own Nollywood. While we were growing up, Ocean Grove was always in the movies, one way or the other. And there is this suspended bridge in Ocean Grove. The first time I set my feet on that particular grove, I went to that bridge exactly to see if it was really suspended. And yes, it is suspended. That is one example. And some of our, I don't want to call them local stars, some of our indigenous stars while growing up, less of Baba one day back then. Of course, I went to his house, and I didn't meet him at home, but at some point we came in contact with each other. So I met him. So it is true that sometimes as a film tourist, you want to go to those places that you see in movies, and you want to meet those faces and see that they are even as human as you are. Of course, we have Effiong ready for us. He is a screenwriter and is a broadcast producer. Effiong Akpan, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning for having me. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Okay, let's start with the impact of film tourism on local economy. Can you speak to that as an opener?
Well, basically, film is about making money. And when you use properties and locations to shoot movies, you're actually calling on people to come and see what you use to shoot the movie. So people pay money as tourists to come to film sites that you had used in the movie. And when they pay money as tourists to come, they pay gate fees and all that, So it enriches the local economy and promotes national economy.
So what factor influences the choice of destination? Is it the popularity of the site, or how beautiful it looked? What factors?
If you're in Nollywood, they might have used some locations for making movies in Nigeria. But beyond Nollywood, if you go to places like Casablanca, go to Serengeti, go to Namibia, and well, let me localize it. If, say, for example, Budukato Ranch, Mambila Plateau, all those kind of things. Imagine that you have all those tourism sites in movies, and they actually enhance the visual aesthetics and the storytelling. Then you will know what tourists would want to come and see. They will be attracted by the very spectacle that the camera would use to tell stories. So, bottom line is that tourism sites are basically attractions to tourists when they're well used in movies and stories.
Okay, let me ask this, because you are a film producer. In recent times, maybe by the demand of Netflix on indigenous producers, you see some of our film producers now coming up with, they are literally creating cities for their movies. We saw that in Anikulaku, and even in the recent Jagun Jagun that has been released, they had to go as far as constructing that particular war scene. After the movies are produced, are they retained in that locality to become tourist centers, or they're just dismantled? After all, they've served their purpose.
Unfortunately, some might be dismantled, but if you take somebody like Afoloyan, he's been able to set up a film village somewhere in the southwest. So if he sustains that for subsequent shoots, it becomes a tourist attraction for the average tourist, maybe from America, from Europe, maybe from Asia, who wants to see what was reflected in the story that he used those constructions for. Because sometimes there are two kinds of locations: the natural ones and the ones you build. You usually have carpenters and all that, builders that actually build scenes in movies. So it is left for you to decide whether you're going to reuse those sites or locations again, or you're gonna have to dismantle and rebuild for another story. So, but when you have natural sites, like take for example the Bukato Ranch, the Oshun Oshobo that you talked about, Yankari Game Reserve. If you pertain your stories to those sites, of course, you don't have to dismantle. These are natural sites that people will always come back to see. So if we as Nigerians want to grow our tourist economy, that's where we can invest. That's where we can preserve. That's where we can promote. That's where we can attract people to come, pay money, and see what we have.
Okay, some of these natural sites, what practices can ensure that they're preserved? Because, for instance, the person has seen how beautiful the Obudukatu Ranch is and wants to visit the place, only to find that it's a shadow of what they've seen.
Well, that's left for us as a people. We like going abroad. We go to Dubai, we go to Europe, we go to all kinds of places internationally. But one thing that is left for Nigerians, apart from just using such sites for movies, is for us to make efforts to preserve what we have. Ecological destruction in Nigeria is not a new thing. Ecological abuse is not a new thing in Nigeria. But I think if we begin to think about making money from such sites, then we should consciously enable them look attractive. And one of the ways to do so is for maybe people in the tourism industry and the film industry and even the government to have a dialogue on such sites and be able to say, okay, can we create a film village here? Can we do this and that? Then we'll consciously preserve those sites, whether it is for filmmaking, whether it is for tourism, just tourism alone. Then it becomes a sustainable project for anybody to use in the maybe tourism, hospitality, filmmaking, conferences, and all that. So it is left for us as a people to consciously agree that we must build our sites just like they built Dubai, just like they built Hawaii, just like they built several places all over the world for people to go touring and pay money to make money for the local economy, and of course attract more and more revenue to the country. If you take film, for example, Nollywood has been able to strike a balance between oil and gas. Let's put it that way. Wow. I would say if as Netflix comes into Nigeria, we are discovering another oil and gas. So what do we do with this oil and gas? Do we consciously look at the economic chain, and say, okay, we're going to invest in our sites, we're going to invest in the equipment, we're going to do several things that will build those sites, build tourism, build filmmaking, build film culture. Build stories that we can tell, because whether we like it or not, we have not harvested, would I say, a tenth of our potential to tell the world our stories. I can imagine a situation where we consciously do story conferences, we consciously tie story conferences to tourist sites and encourage filmmakers to make movies out of those sites. Then you can imagine what will happen.
Okay, I like the fact that you just drew that parallel between oil and gas and the arrival of the likes of Netflix. You are saying film tourism or filmmaking has become the new oil and gas in Nigeria. Okay, let me agree with you there. Take us behind the scenes, because one of the complaints of locales where oil is explored is that the members there are often ignored in critical conversations. How much of engagement do you do with locales when you go to shoot? What is the interaction like? Are they part of the stakeholders you consider when you get there, or is just, okay, we've paid you for this and we're just doing our thing and going away?
I don't know if you've heard the term Omonile that has been disturbing filmmakers. You go to locations to shoot movies, and out of the thin air, you see boys coming around you demanding that you pay certain fees for you to be able to shoot on locations. If you go to other countries, developed film industries, city councils, states actually have incentive where they give to filmmakers to make movies. And part of the incentive is collect tax. Do rebate on taxation, give you a little bit of taxation where you pay, and those benefits will go back to the council or the county or the state. So when we start talking about oil and gas as in film, if we consciously, like I said before, if we consciously, because we're not consciously doing anything. I'll give you an example. If we take the movie industry, we are not organized. So we need to organize ourselves in the movie industry to make demands on government to do certain things that would, benefit the filmmaker, the storyteller, and the locals. So that, for example, if I go to shoot in Niger Delta, like they will go to Niger Delta to mine oil and gas, I should be able to know what tax I'm paying to benefit the local population. If, for example, you go to a library where the first oil well in Nigeria was dug, and you make that an object of storytelling, then you make that a tourist attraction, and you tell a story around that oil well. Take, for example, the story of Isaac Burrow that has not been told yet. If you make conscious effort to make that chain of events become, beneficial to locals and the industry, then you've struck a balance. That's what we don't do in Nigeria. We don't consciously key into these elements, this chain, to ensure that everybody benefits. So how will the locals not disturb you, asking you to pay maybe what you call illegal tax?
Okay, let's look at the economic benefits of film tourism. Now, by screening some particular locations, what the film industry is giving is free promotion of the destination site. So when the economic benefits come, or does it,
yes,
has Nollywood really benefited economically from film tourism, or it is just the destinations that are benefiting? And when the benefits come, do the locals even know that these benefits came as a result of the locations being used in films to actually attribute the gains to the film industry?
I said before now that we don't consciously key into this chain. If you consciously key into this chain, and Nollywood will benefit, the state will benefit, locals will benefit. So we need to consciously, if I could, can you rewind your question again? So let me just get it.
Okay, I asked 2 questions in one. One of them is, has Nollywood actually benefited economically from film tourism, promoting some sites that they've used in movies, which now draws some tourists to want to visit those sites? Has Nollywood benefited, or it is just the destinations that are benefiting? And even when the destinations benefit, do they realize that these benefits came as a result of the destinations being used in movies to attribute the gains to the film industry?
I'll tell you what a South African, truly Nigerian filmmaker. He said, you guys make movies in Lagos, and Nigeria is supposed to be the largest filmmaker or filmmaking country in Africa, perhaps the third or the second in the world. And he said, you guys shoot movies and you shoot in Lagos. I don't know anything about Lagos. You don't show me landscape. You don't show me where locals live. You don't actually show, I don't know anything about Lagos, just watching your movies. So I go back to the word conscious. Conscious in the sense that if you consciously say you're going to do this, you will do it, and everybody will benefit. Imagine if storytellers, screenwriters, producers, directors intend, as it were, to actually tell the Nigerian story, which is attracting filmmakers, studios, streamers all over the world, to Nigeria today. Imagine if we consciously key into a situation where we need to, or we have to tell our stories to the extent that we can actually use sites and consciously know that everybody is a factor Everybody is a factor in the game. Everybody is a factor, is an element, is an unavoidable factor in the game. Then we will know what to benefit, what to create, because we must create wealth in that chain. Then who will benefit from that chain? So Nollywood will be able to say, okay, this is how much of our culture or tourism site we've reflected, and therefore we'll be able to attract, like I said, people to know where they shoot, to understand what they're shooting. I'm not saying Nollywood is not doing anything about using sites, but have we consciously enabled a situation where we can harvest from such sites so that everybody will benefit? Because if we take Serengeti, the Americans in the 60s used to go to Serengeti to shoot movies in East Africa. What happened? They opened up the tourism site. And so the local economy benefited, local people got employed, and everything happened. So that should also happen in Nigeria. As long as we don't consciously enable that chain to work, I don't see how anybody can really benefit. That's my take.
Okay, now let me speak to the screenwriter part of you, apart from you being a producer. I do know that if you read the likes of Thomas Hardy's literature works or literary works, even locations can be a character in storytelling. Have there been instances where location changed the course of storytelling for you as a writer?
I also teach screenwriting and storytelling. I often tell my students that one of the things that can revolutionize Nigerian storytelling for filmmaking will be for you to begin to consciously understand why your location is important in your storytelling. Because if you take a priest to a brothel, and if a priest goes to a brothel to preach to a prostitute, and he happens to come out, and his neighbor sees him, suddenly there'll be conflict. There will be a cast of bad reputation on the priest. If we take a prostitute to become perhaps a worship leader in a church, you immediately understand that there will be conflict. And so location can become a character in the sense that if anybody comes to Lagos, a lot of people come to Lagos to make money. They come to Lagos because Lagos, as it were, in the years back, was supposed to yield. As soon as you come, you can make money in Lagos. So you can come to Lagos and get change. The same thing happens to any story. Location impacts story. So location can become a character in the story and impact on the protagonist or the main character. Yes.
Beyond making the audience or the fans of a movie who have seen different locations, who have seen different sites in the movie, want to visit that site, what other film-related experience can the destination offer to connect the visitors or the tourists more with the destination and even the movie?
If I understand you, you're asking if I use a certain site in my movies, would that site, retain its reputation, promote the movie, and still return visitors? Is that what you mean?
Okay, what I'm asking is this. When we talked about some film tourist sites, you talked about some of them being natural and some others not actually being natural. Some of them were constructed, made because of the particular movie that you wanted to shoot. Now, for instance, I've seen some of that sites, maybe the ones that were created, how you create villages and you put in some other things mixed with the natural site. And I want to visit that particular location. What other thing is there to engage me and want to make me even return beyond me just saying, oh, this is the place I saw in a movie, this is how it is? Are there other things there to make my experience a quality one?
Anyway, recently I saw in a news item about an American who came to Africa, and I think he actually arrived in Nigeria. Beyond just coming to Nigeria, the American thought, look, I could come to Nigeria and live in Nigeria. And if we take the tourism attraction, the place where they used to sell slaves in Ghana, forgotten, somewhere in Ghana, forgotten the name of the place. A lot of Americans, especially African Americans, go there, and the memories of their ancestors who were sold into slavery, would flood back. So beyond tourism, there is the aspect of spirituality. There's the aspect of health. You go to a tourism place beyond just seeing the tourism site because you saw it on a movie. You can get relaxed. You can you might want to say, okay, I'm going to come back not just to come see this site, but to come back and see Nigeria as a wholesome location. For example, if somebody went to Mambila Plateau and probably Mambila was used in the movie, he or she went there to see Mambila Plateau and perhaps has money to invest. The person might say, okay, I saw tea plantation, viable tea plantation in Mambila. I think I will come back and invest in Mambila. That's what filmmaking does. That's what film tourism does. It takes you beyond the mere fact that you came to see an attraction. It takes you beyond the mere fact that you came to relive the story you saw on the screen. So it could actually make you come back and say, I want to come back to my roots. I want to invest in a certain location. I love the people. They are friendly. They are warm. I want to come back and live there. That sort of thing could happen. That becomes personalized. So beyond that group tour, beyond sightseeing, there could be spiritual reawakening. There could be, reinvention of your humanity to say, okay, I'm coming back to Africa.
Now, for the sites that you use sometimes, could there be relics of the film itself that connect the people? Maybe pictures, maybe inscriptions, paintings, that once you get there, it's very easy for you to connect. Oh, this movie was shot here, and you see pictures of it, you see things like that. Have we come to that level?
In Nigeria, no.
Yes.
I will guarantee we have not come to that level. Why is that happening? Because many times you hear stories about Nollywood movies being wishy-washy. Not anymore, because movies are improving. The problem with that is that storytellers, screenwriters don't do deep research. Let me give out a secret that has helped me in recent times. If you ask an average writer in Nigeria, have you used AI? You say, no, I don't know how to use AI. But I tell you what, ever since AI came to be somewhat popular in Nigeria, AI has reduced my workload by 2/3 of what I used to do. It is a question of being involved in your job, being ready and loving your job so that you write a good story. Sometimes I read 3 files, internet files to write one scene. Writers in Nigeria hate doing that. Why? Because indeed we are not being encouraged. How would we be encouraged? One of the ways to be encouraged is to hold story conferences, which I've advocated in the industry for a long time. I've done this advocacy. We need to hold story conferences. Now, the studios in America and Europe or wherever they're coming from, even from China, coming into Nigeria to reap or to harvest stories, can we have regional story conferences? And one of the things that would surely be portrayed in those regional story conferences is to begin to visit our tourism site, see what stories we can harvest from those sites. Yes, therefore, in doing so, relics, whatever you find on those sites, will become story-making tools. If you take a place like Calabar, where you have the first, the colonial office, you take a place like Arochukwu, where you have Ibn Pabio, where slaves used to be, sold off. There's this story about people, telling you, I want to go and sacrifice somebody to Ibn Pabio. They will go and sacrifice goats and sell off human beings into slavery. These are great stories.
All right.
There are stories around us.
Thank you very much.
Hello?
Apologies, we just have to end it here. I really appreciate you for all this, but I have to take home or to take away from this segment. Number one, You just told me that your workload has been reduced by 2/3. So when I'm engaging you next time, I'll cut your pay by 2/3 because you can't give me 1/3 work and collect full money. Yeah, you told us with your own mouth here. Let's just say to that. Then secondly, I like the fact that you spoke about regional story conferences. But beyond that, you should be looking at collaborative film production as producers in Nigeria here so that you don't operate in silos again. There is so much we can do together as film producers in Nigeria if we come together. Thank you very much for that. God bless you.
Thank you.